October 14th, 2019. Lukas Reinhardt flew to Orlando with a backpack and a plan to drive home in a car he hasn't seen in person. The deal was simple: cash only. Meet at the seller's house and purchase the car. At 4:58 p.m., Lukas shares his live location with a friend, just in case. The map shows him turning into a narrow street, then stopping in front of a single quiet house. No cars in the driveway, no lights on inside. At 5:11 p.m., one final message comes through. I don't think anyone else is here, but the door is open. After that, the location stops moving. Minutes pass, then hours. His phone never reconnects. His bank account is never touched again. When authorities check the address the next day, they find no sign of Lukas Reinhardt and no sign that anyone had been living in that house at all. So who opened the door for him, and what was waiting inside? After that final message, the details of Lukas Reinhardt's life begin to matter more than ever, because nothing about him suggested this would be his story. Lukas was 32 years old, an IT specialist living in Germany, working a job that rewarded precision, patience, and logic. He wasn't someone who acted without thinking. In fact, most people who knew him would say the opposite. Lukas thought about everything. He planned ahead. He analyzed situations. He avoided uncertainty whenever he could. If something didn't make sense, he didn't move forward until it did. That was the pattern of his life. Even the smallest decisions: what to buy, where to go, who to trust. Everything was filtered through careful reasoning. He lived alone in a quiet apartment, clean, organized, nothing out of place. There were no signs of chaos in his world, no unfinished plans, no sudden changes, just routine. Every morning, he woke up early, checked his emails, prepared for work. Evenings were just as predictable. Dinner, a bit of time online, and then a phone call, almost every single night. Lukas called his parents, not out of obligation, but habit. A habit built over years. They spoke about simple things: work, weather, plans for the week. Nothing unusual. But those calls created a timeline, a pattern that never broke, until it did. A few weeks before his trip, Lukas had started searching for a car. There was a reason for it, one that made sense to him. He had been considering spending some time in the United States for work, not permanently, just a temporary arrangement. And if he was going to be there, he would need transportation. Renting didn't feel practical. Buying a car seemed like the better option. So he searched online, scrolling through listings, comparing prices, checking details. Everything about that process was normal, routine, until one listing stood out. It wasn't dramatically different, but it caught his attention. The price was slightly lower than others. Not unrealistic, just unusual enough to notice. Lukas clicked on it. The photos showed a clean vehicle, no visible damage, nothing obviously wrong. But the description, it was short, too short. No background, no explanation, just a few words. Available now, cash only. For someone like Lukas, that kind of listing should have raised a clear boundary. And in a way, it did. He didn't rush into it. He studied the photos carefully, zoomed in on details, looked for inconsistencies, reflections in the windows, shadows on the ground, anything that might reveal more than the listing intended. That was how his mind worked. He contacted the seller. The reply came quickly, short, direct. No effort to build trust, no attempt at conversation, just answers. When Lukas asked questions, the responses were always just enough, never too much, and that created a strange balance. Nothing clearly wrong, but nothing completely reassuring either. Over the next few days, They exchanged more messages. Lukas continued to evaluate. He didn't commit immediately. He asked about the car's condition, ownership, availability. Each time, the answers came back, brief, controlled, almost like someone following a script. At one point, Lukas paused, not physically, but mentally. It's because something about the interaction didn't fully align with what he expected. But instead of stepping away, he adjusted his thinking. He told himself something simple. I'll verify everything in person. That idea made sense to him. Seeing the car, meeting the seller, those things would answer any remaining questions. And if something felt wrong, he would leave. That was the part he trusted the most. His ability to recognize when something wasn't right. He mentioned the plan casually to a friend, not as a concern, just as information. I found a car. I'll go check it when I get there. Nothing about his tone suggested hesitation, because to Lukas, this wasn't a risk. It was a controlled situation, a simple transaction. In the days leading up to his flight, everything continued as normal. Work, routine, evening calls. No signs that anything was about to change. If he felt uncertainty, he kept it to himself. And then, October 14th, 2019, Lukas boarded the flight, calm, prepared, with a plan that made sense in his world. Land in Orlando, meet the seller, inspect the car, decide. Nothing more, nothing complicated. But there was one detail, one small decision that would later stand out more than anything else. The meeting point. It was never a public place, no parking lot, no dealership. Only one location was ever suggested, a house. And despite everything Lukas believed about caution, despite the small inconsistencies he noticed, he still agreed to go there. A quiet agreement that would lead him to a silent street, to a door already open, and to a moment where all his careful planning would no longer be enough to protect him. The decision to go didn't happen all at once. It built slowly, piece by piece, through a series of small interactions that, on their own, didn't seem alarming. But together, they began to form a pattern. Lukas had found the listing on a small online marketplace, one of those platforms where private sellers post directly, with little verification. At first glance, it looked ordinary. A used car, clean exterior, well presented in photos. The price, slightly below market value, not low enough to immediately trigger suspicion, but low enough to stand out. For Lukas, that was enough to take a closer look. He didn't rush. He opened each image carefully, zoomed in, examined the details. The lighting was consistent. The car looked real, but something was missing. There were no wide shots of the surroundings, no clear indication of where the photos were taken. Just the vehicle, framed tightly, as if everything else had been intentionally left out. Lukas noticed that, but he didn't stop there. He clicked on the seller's profile. There wasn't much to see. No full name, no history of previous sales, no personal details, just a recently created account, and this single listing. That detail lingered for a moment. Then Lukas moved on. He sent the first message. The reply came quickly, short, direct. No greeting, no introduction, just an answer. Lukas asked about the condition of the car. The seller responded, "Good, no issues, nothing more." He asked for additional photos. A few were sent, but again, only close angles. No background, no street view, no identifiable landmarks. It was enough to confirm the car existed, but not enough to confirm anything else. Lukas continued anyway. Over the next few days, their conversation remained the same. Lukas would ask questions. The seller would respond, briefly, efficiently, almost as if every word was measured. There were no voice calls. Lukas suggested it once. The response came back within seconds. Can't talk. Busy. Text only. No explanation, just a boundary. Lukas paused again. Not long, but enough to notice the pattern forming. Still, nothing was clearly wrong. Just incomplete. The seller then shifted the conversation. Many people interested. First come, first served. It was subtle. Not aggressive, but enough to introduce urgency. Lukas didn't respond immediately. He read the message, looked back at the listing, and thought about it. He wasn't the type to be rushed, but the idea of missing a good deal, that stayed in the back of his mind. He asked one more question. Where can I see the car? The answer came quickly. An address. No explanation. No alternative options. Just a location and a time suggestion. Lukas read it carefully. A residential street. Quiet. No mention of meeting anywhere else. He asked if they could meet in a public place instead. A parking lot, a gas station, somewhere open. The reply was immediate. No. Come to house. Nothing else. No flexibility. No compromise. Just that. At that moment, Lukas had enough information to step away. The missing details, the limited communication, the refusal to meet publicly, each one small on its own. But together, they created a quiet sense of unease. And Lukas felt it. Not strongly, but enough to hesitate. Still, he didn't walk away. Instead, he adjusted his thinking. If he went there himself, in daylight, with full awareness, he could control the situation. He wouldn't stay long. He wouldn't take unnecessary risks. He would simply verify and leave if anything didn't feel right. That was the logic he trusted. The seller sent one final message later that day. Bring cash. No delay. Short, direct, final. Lukas read it and made his decision. He would go, not because everything made sense, but because he believed he could handle it if it didn't. A calm decision, made in a quiet moment, that would lead him directly to a house where nothing else about this situation would remain under his control. Despite everything, Lukas Reinhardt decided to go anyway, not out of carelessness, but out of quiet confidence in his own judgment. To him, this wasn't a leap into danger. It was a controlled situation. He had done his part, asked questions, observed the details, and now, the final step was simple. See the car in person. If something felt wrong, he would leave. That thought stayed with him as he prepared for the meeting. Earlier that afternoon, Lukas stopped at a nearby bank in Orlando. The transaction was straightforward. He withdrew the full amount in cash, enough to complete the purchase immediately, just as the seller had requested. There was no hesitation in the way he did it. No sign that he was second-guessing the decision. But before he left, he did something that would later stand out. He sent a message to a close friend back in Germany. Not detailed, not dramatic, just enough information, an address, a short note. Going to check the car now. I'll update you after. It was a small precaution, the kind someone takes without fully explaining why. As if, somewhere in the back of his mind, there was a quiet awareness that this situation wasn't entirely normal. By late afternoon, Lukas was on his way. The drive took him away from the busier parts of the city. Traffic became lighter. Buildings became less crowded. The streets began to stretch out, longer, quieter, fewer people, fewer signs of movement. By the time he turned onto the road leading to the address, everything around him had changed. The neighborhood was calm, too calm. Houses stood apart from each other, each one separated by patches of empty space. No sound of conversation, no distant music, just stillness. Lukas slowed the car slightly as he moved further down the street, his eyes scanning. noticing small details. Closed windows, empty driveways, no signs of activity. It wasn't abandoned, but it didn't feel lived in either. He checked the address again. Everything matched. He kept driving. No cars passed him. Not a single one. No one walking along the sidewalk. No movement behind the windows. Just silence. The kind of silence that makes even small sounds feel louder than they should. To the hum of the engine, the faint crunch of tires against the road, Lukas finally spotted the house. It looked like the others. Nothing about it stood out immediately. A simple structure, set slightly back from the street. No car in the driveway. No visible activity. He slowed to a stop, parking a short distance away. For a moment, he stayed inside the vehicle, hands resting lightly on the steering wheel, looking at the house, waiting, expecting something, a movement, a sign. But nothing came. The silence remained. He reached for his phone, checked the conversation again. No new messages. He typed briefly, "I'm here." Sent. The message delivered. No reply. Seconds passed, then a minute. Still nothing. Lukas glanced back at the house. Unchanged. He exhaled slowly, then reached for the envelope containing the cash, holding it for a moment, as if grounding himself in the reality of why he was there. This was supposed to be simple. Walk up, meet the seller, see the car, decide. That was all. He opened the car door, stepped out. The air outside felt still. No breeze, no distant sounds, just quiet. He closed the door gently behind him and began walking toward the house. Each step measured, calm, controlled. But as he moved closer, something about the place became harder to ignore. Not something visible, something felt. The kind of feeling that doesn't explain itself, but refuses to go away. Lukas slowed slightly, his eyes moving across the front of the house, taking in every detail. Still no movement, still no sound. He reached the front path, paused for a brief moment, then continued forward, toward the entrance, toward the door, already slightly open, just enough to reveal darkness inside. Lukas stopped, not for long, but long enough to notice, to register the detail that didn't match the plan. He looked around once more, the street behind him, empty, completely still. No cars passed, no voices, just silence. He turned back toward the door, standing there. Lukas stands in front of the house, just looking at it, for a few seconds, maybe longer, like he's trying to make sense of something that doesn't quite match what he expected. The door is slightly open, not wide, just enough. Inside, it's dark, too dark for that time of day. He doesn't step in yet. Instead, he reaches for his phone. A message goes out. "I think I'm here." It sounds simple, normal, but there's a small delay before he sends the next one, like he's taking a closer look around. He turns slightly, scans the street again, still empty, no movement, no sound. Then another message. This doesn't look like the photos. He waits. No reply from the seller. Nothing. Lukas looks back at the house, this time more carefully. The windows closed. No light inside. No sign that anyone is moving around. He steps closer to the door, just enough to look inside without fully entering. Still nothing. No car in the driveway. That part doesn't make sense. He types again. There's no car outside. The message sends. The screen goes quiet. No response. For a moment, he just stands there, holding the phone, like he's waiting for something to change. Maybe a message, maybe a voice, anything, but it stays the same. Quiet. Lukas exhales softly, then takes one small step forward. The door moves slightly, a slow creaking sound, barely loud, but in that silence, it feels sharp. He stops again, not rushing, just listening now, trying to hear something inside. Anything. There's a pause. Then he lifts his phone again. This time, he doesn't type. He records a short voice note. His voice is lower now, quieter. I'm at the door. I don't see anyone. It's open already. There's a slight shift in the audio, like he's moving, maybe stepping just a little closer. A faint sound in the background. Wood. A slow movement. Hard to tell exactly what it is. He stops speaking for a second, listening, then continues, softer this time. I don't know. This feels. He doesn't finish the sentence. The recording ends. Sent. For a few seconds. Nothing happens. Lukas stands there, half inside, half outside, like he hasn't fully decided yet. Then he steps in, just one step. Enough for his body to disappear slightly past the doorway. The light behind him doesn't reach far inside. It fades quickly, swallowed by the darkness. He looks around, slowly, carefully. The air inside feels different. Still, heavy. Not a single sound, no movement. He takes another step, then stops again. His phone is still in his hand. He types one more message to his friend. There's just a garage. The typing bubble appears, disappears, then appears again, like he's hesitating. Then the final message comes through. And I think someone is inside. Sent. After that, nothing. No more messages, no calls, no voice notes, just silence. After that last message, the chat goes quiet. No typing, no follow-up, just that final line sitting there. And I think someone is inside. For a while, it doesn't feel serious. On the other side, his friend reads it, stares at it for a few seconds, waiting for the next message to come in. Maybe a joke, maybe a correction, something normal, but nothing comes. A minute passes, then another. Still nothing. The friend types back. What do you mean? Sent. Delivered. No reply. At first, it doesn't feel wrong. Maybe Lukas is busy. Maybe he stepped away from his phone. Maybe he's just talking to the seller now. That's what it looks like. That's what it should be. Another minute goes by. The friend sends another message. Did you find the car? Sent. Delivered. Still no reply. The chat stays still. No typing bubble. No sign of activity. Just silence. A call is made. It rings. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then stops. No answer. The friend pauses. Looks back at the last message again. Reads it more carefully this time. Someone is inside. Another call. This time, it doesn't ring for long. It cuts off. Straight to nothing. A third call. Same result. Now it starts to feel different. Not just quiet, but wrong. The friend sends another message. Lukas. Sent. But this time, it doesn't say delivered. The single checkmark stays there, waiting. Minutes pass. Still one checkmark. No connection. No response. On the phone is no longer reachable. At first, it's easy to explain. Maybe the signal is bad. Maybe the house has poor reception. Maybe he went into a basement or somewhere with no coverage. That makes sense. It has to make sense. The friend holds on to that thought for a while. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. The messages remain unread. Calls stop going through completely. Now, there's no ringing at all, just silence on the line. That's when the waiting starts to feel heavier. The kind of waiting where every second stretches out, where small details begin to stand out more than they should. The last message, the tone of it, the way it ended. Not finished, not clear, just cut off. The friend scrolls up through the conversation, reads everything again, the location, the earlier messages, trying to find something, anything that explains it, but nothing does. Another message is sent. I'm calling you. Pick up. Still one check mark, no delivery, no sign that the phone is even on anymore. Time keeps moving, slow, quiet, uncertain, and somewhere, far from that silent house, the realization begins to settle in. This isn't just a delay. This isn't bad signal. Something has changed, something that cut everything off. All at once, the calls stop, the messages stop, the connection gone, and Lukas Reinhardt is no longer reachable. The silence after Lukas Reinhardt disappeared didn't stay contained for long. What started as a few missed calls quickly turned into something that couldn't be ignored. By the next day, a formal report is filed. At first, it's routine. A missing person, last known location, last contact. But there's something about the timeline, the way it ends, too sudden, too clean. No gradual drop in communication, just a stop. Authorities begin with what they have, the address Lukas sent. That becomes the center of everything. When officers arrive at the location, nothing about it looks active. The street is quiet, just like before. Houses spaced apart, no movement. The same stillness Lukas walked into. They approach the property. From the outside, it looks untouched. No car in the driveway, no signs of anyone living there. And then, they notice it. The front door, slightly open, exactly as described. They step closer, pause, then push it open. The sound is slow, dragging through the silence. Inside, everything feels wrong. Not chaotic, not damaged, just empty. Dust covers the floor. Not recently settled, but thick, layered, undisturbed for a long time. It's the kind of dust that builds when no one has been there for weeks, maybe months. Every step they take leaves a clear mark behind. And that's when they see it. Footprints, fresh ones, cutting through the dust, leading from the entrance, further inside the house. One direction, in. No clear path leading back out. The rooms are checked one by one. Empty. No furniture. No personal items. No signs that anyone lives there. Just space and silence. Then, something is found. On the floor, near the inner part of the house. A wallet. It doesn't belong there. They pick it up. Open it. Inside. Identification. Lukas Reinhardt. No doubt. It's his. But the cash, the money he withdrew just hours before arriving, is gone. Completely. Not a single bill remains. But there are no signs of a struggle, no overturned objects, no broken surfaces, nothing disturbed, except the footprints and the absence of money. The investigation expands. The address is checked through official records. Ownership, history, anything that ties the property to a person. But what comes back only deepens the mystery. No registered owner connected to recent activity. No active utilities. No record of anyone living there. The house is listed as abandoned, unused, left behind. Which raises a question that no one can answer. If no one lives there, who told Lukas to come? And why that house? The focus shifts to the surrounding area. Nearby roads, entry points, any possible movement. That's when they find footage. From a camera positioned at a distance, watching part of the road leading into the neighborhood. The timing matches. A vehicle appears, Lukas's vehicle. It enters slowly, moves toward the street where the house is located, and disappears from the frame. The recording continues. Minutes pass, then more. But the vehicle never returns. No footage of it leaving, no second appearance. It goes in and never comes back out. Another camera is checked. Different angle. The image is less clear, partially blocked, but it captures something. For a brief moment, a figure appears near the edge of the frame, standing, still, then moving slightly before slipping out of view. No clear features, no identifiable details, just a shape. The timing aligns closely with Lucas's arrival, but there's no confirmation of who it is. No way to tell if it's connected. Inside the house, the scene doesn't change. Investigators walk through it again, carefully, now looking for anything missed, but the details remain the same. Dust, footprints leading in, no path leading out, a wallet without cash, and an empty space that offers no explanation. Everything points to one thing. Lukas Reinhardt entered that house. That part is certain. But what happened after is where the trail ends. No noise, no witnesses, no clear evidence of what took place inside. Just a quiet location where something happened, fast enough to leave almost nothing behind, and a single question that stays at the center of it all. If Lukas walked in on his own, why was there no way back out? At first, it looks like a dead end. No cellar, no listing, no number that leads anywhere. Everything connected to that meeting, gone, like it was never meant to last. Investigators go back to the beginning, the platform Lukas used. They contact the company, request records, anything tied to that listing, timestamps, IP activity. But what comes back is almost nothing. The listing existed, briefly, long enough to be seen, long enough for Lukas to respond. And then, it was removed, not flagged, not reported, just deleted. No stored history available, no account details that lead to a real identity. It's clean, too clean. The seller profile, the same, created recently. No activity before, no activity after. One purpose, one interaction, and then it disappears. The phone number used to contact Lukas doesn't hold up either. It's traced, but it leads to a temporary registration, unverified, no name attached. After that day, it stops working completely. No signal, no recovery. It's as if every piece of this interaction was designed to exist only for a short time, but just long enough to bring someone to that house. When investigators return to the property again, they start looking at it differently, not as a place where someone lives, but as a place that gets used, only when needed, because everything about it suggests that. The dust, the emptiness, no signs of long-term presence, but also no signs of decay that match years of complete neglect. It sits in between, like it's been left alone, but not entirely forgotten. Neighbors are questioned again, this time more carefully, more directly, and slowly. Details begin to surface. One neighbor mentions hearing something a few nights before Lukas arrived. Not loud, just a faint sound, like something being moved inside. Another recalls seeing a light, late at night, not steady, just a quick glow through one of the windows, then darkness again. At the time, it didn't feel important, just something easy to ignore. But now, those small moments begin to connect, because the house isn't supposed to have any activity at all. And yet, there are these brief signs that something happens there, from time to time, not often, just enough to suggest it's not completely empty. As the investigation expands, similar cases begin to appear, not identical, but close enough. A listing, an item priced just low enough to attract attention, a seller who avoids calls, pushes for a quick meeting, always in a quiet location, and then the same ending. The person goes and disappears. No clear trace, no explanation. In some cases, there are small details left behind. A phone found later, personal items, but never the person. Never a clear sequence of what happened after they arrived. When these cases are placed side by side, a pattern starts to form. Not obvious at first, but consistent. Too consistent to ignore. And that's where the questions begin to change. Because this no longer feels random. It feels planned, controlled, like someone or something knows exactly how to create the same situation again and again. Draw someone in, isolate them, remove all connection, then disappear without leaving enough behind to follow. But there's something else, something harder to explain. In Lucas's case, there's no sign of struggle, no damage, no noise reported, nothing that suggests a forced event. And yet, he never comes out, which leaves one possibility that's difficult to understand, that whatever happened inside that house happened fast, quiet, and with enough control to leave almost nothing behind. And the house remains, unchanged, sitting in silence, as if it has no connection to anything at all. But now, it holds something unseen, a point where multiple stories seem to end without explanation. And the deeper investigators go, the more one thought begins to take shape. This isn't just about one person making a mistake. It's not just one bad decision. It's a pattern, one that repeats, carefully, without drawing attention. And somewhere inside that pattern, there's a missing piece, something that explains how people can arrive and then simply be gone, without a sound, without a trace, as if the moment they step into that space, they are no longer part of the world outside it. And this is where the story stops giving answers and starts asking questions. Because everything about Lukas Reinhardt's disappearance leads somewhere, but never far enough. The listing brought him there, but who created it? There's no name, no account history, nothing that connects it to a real person. Just a profile that appeared, served its purpose, and vanished. So, who was behind it? Someone watching listings, waiting for the right person? Or was Lukas chosen for a reason no one has been able to see? Because that question remains. Why him? He wasn't reckless. He wasn't desperate. He was careful. The kind of person who notices when something feels off. And yet, he still ended up at that house, which leads to the next question. Why that house? An abandoned place, no owner, no activity, no reason for anyone to be there. And yet, it was used at the exact time he arrived. Not before, not after, just in that moment, as if it only needed to exist for him. And then, there's the money, the cash Lukas withdrew that day, gone. No trace of it, no movement, no record. It simply disappears along with him, which raises another possibility. Was the money the real target? Or was it just part of something larger? Because if this was about theft, why leave everything else behind? Why leave the wallet, but take only the cash? Why not remove all evidence completely? Unless the money wasn't the only thing that mattered. And then there's the pattern. Other cases, other people, drawn in the same way. Different names, same ending. So the question becomes bigger than just Lukas. Is this planned? Something organized, repeated, carefully controlled? Or is it something else entirely? Something that doesn't follow a clear motive. Something that only shows itself for a moment. Just long enough to pull someone in and then disappear again. Because in the end, there's one detail that stays the same in every version of this story. They all arrive, but they don't come back out, and no one can fully explain why. So now, the question turns to you. What do you think really happened to Lukas Reinhardt? Was this carefully planned, or something far more disturbing? The case never reached a conclusion. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and nothing new came in. No confirmed sightings, no leads that held. Search efforts slowed down, then stopped. The house was checked again and again, but it never gave anything more. No hidden space, no new evidence, Just the same empty rooms, the same dust, the same silence. Lukas Reinhardt was never found. No trace of where he went. No sign that he ever left that place. And no one was ever identified as the person who brought him there. The listing stayed gone. The account never came back. The number remained inactive. Everything connected to that day ended exactly where it started, at that house. Over time, the story faded. Less people talked about it. Less people remembered the name, until it became just another case, left open, unresolved.